Are the folks watching at home going to be able to hear us tonight?
The bandwidth problem has been solved, and I'm checking right now.
If not,
Testing, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
if it doesn't stream, we're being recorded.
It is being recorded. Try again.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Real thing.
He's got it on.
Now, but I can hear somebody just talking now that wasn't the mayor.
Let's call you.
He's got it on Facebook or YouTube or Facebook.
It's delayed.
Let's roll.
Yeah, I know it's delayed.
All right, we're good to go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to call this 6 o'clock workshop to order. We have one item on the agenda, which is the wrap-up workshop of our visioning session. So I'm going to quickly hand it right over. Let's dive right in and hear about all the good things our residents are telling us we need to do and all the things we need to do better on.
Thank you. Well, good evening. My name is Angela Crist. I am the director of the Florida Institute of Government at the University of South Florida. So we have a great workshop planned for you tonight. And I'm a very informal presenter. It's not really a presentation. It's just to kind of go over some stuff with you and get your input. It is your strategic plan. It is your vision for the community. And so just real quick, this is what our agenda is for the evening. I'll introduce myself and my team. We'll briefly go over the information that has already been collected to date. We'll discuss the core values and guiding principles, which you had already come up with, but we do need to refine those a little bit. We'll look at goal statements and objectives, and then discuss next steps. Does that sound good with everybody? Sound good? Okay, great. So just really quickly, I've been at USF almost 17 years. My background, I started in a small city, just about 2 hours north of here, city of Valdosta, Georgia. I got my undergrad and master's from Valdosta State. I have a undergrad in communications and a master's in public administration, and I just love local government and love working in the process and love politics and advocacy and all those fun things. So I just wanted to introduce myself. Robin Odegaard also works with me. She could not be here tonight, but she's been very involved in the project, and she also has her master's from USF, and she mainly handles program planning and analysis for us. So that's us. That's right. And so really briefly, so as all of you know, you had started this process with the University of Central Florida, Florida Institute of Government. And so along the way, you were able to really get some good data from residents, from employees, as well as a workshop that you all held. So I just want to briefly go over that just so you can see some of the consistency in terms of the data that came out of all of those items. So just very briefly, I just put this up here. So again, there was a resident survey that was conducted, and there was also an employee survey. And one of the interesting things, this is slide 5, one of the interesting things I think about the data, if you look, you really see the connection between the employees and what the residents are feeling when you look at the treasures or the strengths. One of the biggest ones was that small town feel, right? They don't want to change that. It's very family oriented. In addition to that, I think the whole historic buildings and the unique downtown, kind of that community pride, we saw that over and over in the data. In addition to that, we also saw some challenges, obviously, around some of the overcrowding within schools, some things around strategic planning, which you're here doing that today, so you can check that one off, right? And then in terms of opportunities, we heard a lot about broadband, making it available to everyone. Again, being able to grow the community, but also maintaining, again, that small town feel. Revitalization of that downtown historic area. So you see some congruence between, again, the citizens and the employees, and I think that's really, really important as you begin to develop your strategy. I also wanted to share with you, obviously, there were 2 workshops held with residents. One was virtual and one was in person. Yes. And so when you begin to look at the residents, again, same thing, small town. The treasures, the sense of the blended community, the community pride. Again, challenges, going again with what we had already heard. Some of the aging infrastructure, some of the school systems. And then opportunities, again, broadband really stuck out. Something else that came out of this that was probably a little bit different was the growth in jobs. We hadn't really seen much of that kind of in the resident and the employee. We saw more of it in the resident workshop. And then finally, I did sit down and watch your strategic planning session that you had. And it was really interesting because I think when you take a look at what you came up with, you really kind of, in my opinion, had 3 key areas, right? And that's what I would say. You had 3 what we would call strategic themes, which was infrastructure, parks, and staff succession planning and development. So to me, those were kind of your 3 major areas, with 1A, B, and C being more along the lines of what we would call action items. And I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Okay? But I want you to know that we took into consideration all of that data that was collected, that's really important that you had that data. In addition to that, you were able to come up with a really solid mission and vision, which is excellent. And I think these both get to all of the data I just shared with you, right? So to build your mission to build a diverse and vibrant community, in investing in infrastructure, innovation, excellent customer service, and responsive government. Again, while remaining fiscally conservative and preserving our small town feel. I really feel that is an excellent statement that encompasses the data that was collected along the way. And then in terms of the vision, again, same thing, going back to that family-oriented, family values, striving for excellence that we heard. So these are really solid, and I just wanted to go over those so we could see the holistic picture of the strategic plan. Any comments up until now? Yes?
When you say people wanted broadband, when you're referring to broadband, what people are wanting broadband? Because I thought it was accessible throughout the city. We have Cox Cable, we have AT&T, so.
Yes, please.
What people are talking about is, one, the hinterlands, right?
So outside the
Just
core city?
Outside the urban core. And then I think that we heard a lot of conversation about some diversity of options, that there's only 1 or 2. They're sometimes lacking, in customer responsiveness, those kinds of things. So there's 5G out there now. We want some competition, and we want to get out to the rural areas.
I think it's expansion of it.
Expansion.
Can you tell me how many residents participated in the program?
In terms of the survey and yes, I'll have to go back and look. When we take a break, I'll pull it up for you. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I will pull it up.
In the survey, it was 152. In the live, it was 36. In the online, it was 24, I think.
I thought it was 23 online, but yeah.
23, sorry.
I just couldn't remember the number of surveys, but yeah. So. Okay, so thank you for the question and the comments. Good discussion. Okay, so now we're going to go into the core values, guiding principles, and some of the goal statements and objectives. But before we get into these, what we were able to do, just so you know, I had an opportunity to come meet with senior leadership during their staff retreat. And I held a workshop from, I think it was 10 to 2 was my time slot on the day of the staff workshop. And so one of the things that we were able to do was take all of this data with your staff and really try to fine tune based on all the data, the core values and guiding principles, as well as the goal statements and objectives. In addition to that, we had an opportunity to have some additional virtual meetings with the city manager and his assistant city managers to really fine tune this. So before we go into it, I just want to say these are drafts. There has been input from all parties, and all the data has been taken into consideration. However, this is your opportunity to provide comment, feedback. I think the ultimate goal at the end of this is that there's some consensus around these guiding principles and core values. And what I would say about that is when you look at these, the way that we think of these is that these are behaviors. These are how you as leaders, how employees, how citizens want to interact with one another, okay? They're non-negotiable. And I want to be clear about that. So what that means is, once you agree to it, this is something that your employees will sign off on. That if anybody who, let's say you have an election and you have newly elected officials, they're going to sign off on it, right? That you are saying to your community, to your residents, to your employees, this is what we value. They're non-negotiable. This is the behaviors that we want to exude. And some of them you probably already do. But this is just an opportunity for new employees, new elected officials, and for everybody to be on the same page. So I'm going to stop there for a second, and if we can just kind of walk through each of these and have a brief discussion, that would be great.
Ms. Crist, is there a reason, we have one that's highlighted in yellow. Is there
Yes.
something in particular about that one that you want to point out to us or think about?
Yes,
or,
so
or do you want to do that when we get to that one?
let's do it when we get to that
Okay.
one. There was a reason for it, and I'll
We'll
explain
get
that.
there.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's go one at a time. Teamwork, we support, communicate, and collaborate through a unified vision and teamwork to achieve our goals. Thoughts? Like it? Run with it? Change the adjective? Move a pronoun? Delete a preposition? Anything?
Tell Monty what a preposition is.
I like it.
I think we support, communicate, and collaborate to create a unified vision with teamwork to achieve our goals. Because I think that when we talk about teamwork, that's really what we do here, is we work to create that unified vision. We don't impose a unified vision on anyone.
So your recommendation is we support, communicate, and collaborate to create a unified vision and teamwork to achieve our goals.
Through teamwork to achieve our
Through
goals.
Through teamwork, okay?
But anyone is free to.
And so just so you know, in terms of working with the staff, they felt very strongly about support, communicate, and collaborate. So I'm glad to hear you guys are good with those words.
I'm a big fan of the Oxford comma, but I'm willing to budge on that.
However you would like it.
Yeah.
It is not they are not my core values. If you would like me to take it out after, they're not there after
It's not there,
communicate?
yeah, we wanna-
Okay, I will be happy to add it for you.
I'm gonna open up to the public one at a time since we have the public here, unless anybody is still pondering on anything. So any members of the public want to chime in on teamwork? We support, communicate, and collaborate to create a unified vision through teamwork to achieve our goals. Hearing none, we'll move on to respect. We respect all individual beliefs and values by showing honesty, gratitude, tolerance, and consideration of others. Thoughts?
That's
Like
pretty
it.
self-explanatory.
Good. I got some likes. I got some good right there. I wasn't going to bring it up, but since consistency, whatever.
Okay, I got it.
In or out, we'll do
I
it
got
across
it.
the board.
I added it after tolerance.
Anybody want to chime in on respect? Okay. Accountability. We promote clear communication, openness, and transparency in our operations, ensuring that we are always accountable for our actions. Thoughts? Like it? Nailed it?
We didn't look that.
Ensuring we are always accountable. I agree.
Okay. Got it.
Anybody watching at home, this is the second time we've kind of gone through these, so I know we're going fast. We're at the minor tweaking stage. Okay, and looking around.
Very
Okay,
good.
innovation. We strive to be creative and forward thinkers by respecting our past, embracing our future as innovative agents of change.
I like the past in there.
All right. Good. And we're cruising. Wild. We strive to be creative and forward thinkers while respecting our past and embracing our future. Yep.
Would you like that?
Wow, a little more.
Mine just seems a little.
Wow's a fancy buy. Yeah, I'll go with wow. Doing it both at the same time. Okay, leadership, which is highlighted in our packet. We grow and develop servant leaders dedicated to making strategic decisions for the betterment of our community. I think we spent some time thinking about servant leaders last time. We like that phrase. Wow, why is it highlighted?
Yes, so it was one statement, and then I modified it, and so what I struggled with, because what we heard a lot from the staff was about growing and developing leaders, and we heard a lot from all the data and from you about servant leaders. So I just wanted to make sure that I captured the data, what the intent was of that core value and that guiding principle. So all the others I felt very solid about as a consultant, but that one I struggled a little bit, and Dallas and I and Mike had the conversation, so I just want to make sure that it encompasses really what everyone meant. So that's why.
Leadership, and then the big thing in this is making strategic decisions. I think that's it's dead on.
Okay.
Good.
But
I'm not sure that it necessarily applies here, but I remember in our conversation, for me, this was more about building bench strength. We've got, people that are probably under 10 years here on staff, and we need to be thinking about the bench strength and making sure that we're doing our job to make sure that the staff is developing their replacements as we kind of go along. That being said, I'm not really sure how we pull that in here, but maybe there's another place here that's more appropriate. I don't know.
I would, because I think about at the staff level, but I also think about right here, right? How are we identifying our own replacements in the community? How are we identifying people who are serving on boards, participating, active in the community? How are we encouraging to think? So I think if you leave it like it is, it allows us to think about leadership from our bench all the way down to who's cutting the grass.
again, the way I look at it is, here we're talking about the coaches, not the bench warmers right now. Present leadership. I mean, you could just keep adding on and on and on to this, but
Keep it broad, so.
Yeah.
I guess maybe more what we're gravitating towards is how to execute that.
Yes, and if I could comment, when we get to the goal statements and the objectives, there is a specific goal around succession planning and exactly what you're talking about within the leadership strategic theme area.
So we further develop strategies.
I'm going to go ahead and throw superior service out there, and then we'll come back to the public, see if anybody wants to go back to any of the last two or three. Any last thoughts on leadership from the up here? Okay, superior service. We anticipate the needs of those we serve through knowledgeable communication and proactive listening to ensure a superior customer experience. I really like the proactive. I like that idea of taking the bull by the horns.
Is it redundant to
after we anticipate. We serve through knowledgeable communication and proactive listening. Just leave out that we anticipate the needs. Is that where you're going? No?
I mean, we're already, I didn't catch this on the other ones, but it seemed like.
Just leave it.
Till it gets-
I didn't notice on the other ones, but when we're making a statement that reiterates the title, is that always
Yes, that's what we're trying to do.
appropriate? Okay.
That's exactly. So the word, so the core value, which would be, say, teamwork, respect, the guiding principle is the statement, and so you do want to try to pull in the word of the core value into the guiding principle.
Is this supposed to be an acronym, TRAILS?
It is.
Okay.
I was wondering.
Could also be trials, depending on the.
Good one, man.
See, I can't say that, but he can.
And which gives us an example of how we're going to see this in a day-to-day. Because, I mean, this is good, and I like having these
Yes.
conversations. I want to be able to turn to Mike and say, Mike, how are you developing servant leaders?
Yes.
They're making strategic decisions, right? But how are we actually, are you going to get to that later on?
I am. So
Okay.
one of the things that you would do with these, so I would, and I'm not sure of your process within your workshops, however, I would recommend, once I read all of them as edited, that you either make a motion or that you accept them as they are so you can move forward. Once that happens, normally what would occur within organizations is that they now become a tool that is handed to staff. Staff agrees to them. They're posted in every department. They're reiterated at every departmental meeting. And so this is just a way of working. When we get to the goal statements and the objectives, we'll talk exactly what you're asking, which is how do we hold that accountability to make sure, right, that we're ensuring that we're following these. And so our recommendation would be to take these in the implementation step and make sure that they're communicated out to all staff. Some organizations, even within departments, have staff sign. So they would do like a big poster, and all the staff within utilities would sign it and say, yes, we're committing to this. But there's a lot of different ways that you could do it to embed it within your organization.
All right, well, the way our rules of procedure are going to work is you'll get a head nod from us, and then once it's all been head nodded, then on an agenda item where we can vote, staff, and we'll just vote on it collectively. We don't make motions and votes
Okay,
in
perfect.
workshop settings.
So would you like me to go ahead? I'm going to read all of them really one last time so that we know exactly now that it has been edited, if that's okay?
I don't know, it's a long packet.
No, we're
And
good.
I think we gave you a head nod at each one, so unless
I
you guys
don't need it.
You guys are good?
I think we're good.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I did offer to, anybody want to speak to any of these, come on. Well, you grab that mic right there, Mr. Boyer.
Do I need a mic?
You do, because the folks at home are.
Okay. Regarding superior service, it just, to me, it does seem like there's a bit of redundancy in there. And I'm looking at it and thinking maybe we anticipate the needs of those we serve through knowledgeable, proactive communication to ensure superior customer experience. Because listening is still a form of communication. It's almost like we're repeating ourselves in that. I mean,
I see what you're saying. I kind of like the focus on telling, especially us, to listen, because I think that's sometimes where we fall prey to criticism, is that you guys don't listen to us, right? Why come to the meetings? Because you don't listen. You've already made up all your minds. You're not listening to us, right? So I like that. Just out of making.
I was like, to the average person, communication
Means
is a
both.
two-way street.
Yeah.
You know, you're speaking as well as listening, and it just, that word just encompasses both aspects of it.
All right, I'm
So,
not
I just
arguing.
threw it out there.
Yeah, not arguing that point for sure. Thoughts? Leave it proactive listening. Reduce it to communication. I got one head nod for leave the listening part in there. Leave it.
I'm fine with that.
Leave it. Okay. Any other? Moving on.
All right.
All right.
All right, so next, I just want to, so that we're all starting kind of from the I'd say the same base or foundation. I always just like to quickly go through this. So when you're doing strategic planning, you really want to be at that 30,000 foot level, right? That's what you as leaders want to be. The action planning really comes for your staff. So when you think about your high level strategic planning, you're trying to think about what's going to happen in advance, what's going to happen in the future. Also looking at what needs to be done to fulfill the mission of the city, right? As well as looking at internal and external environmental factors. Whereas the action planning is really more the operational piece, right? That's kind of where you're really concerned with what's going on internally. You're making sure that you're using resources and that those resources are aligned to what you as leaders are saying we want the goals to be. So I just want to make sure when we begin to talk about the goal statements in just a second and the and the objectives and the action items, that we're looking at it very high from this strategic level. And you will see a couple of action items within these documents, but the focus really is on the goal statements and the objectives. Okay? And so in addition to that, I just want to make sure that from a definition standpoint that we all, because I like to call it strategery, right? And strategery it means something different to everyone. And so in order for us to be on the same page as we move through these documents, we just need to make sure that we're defining goals, objectives, and action plans or action items the same way. So think of a goal statement as this. It's a future desired condition. It's you're painting a picture, you're telling a story of where you want to be. The objective is more in terms of an outcome, or we like to think of action verbs or action words that you would put as an objective. And then the actual, can be confusing, the actual action item is the steps needed. Those are really the tasks. Those are the specific things that need to be achieved in order to meet the objectives, which then meet the goal. So I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that it's really important that you as leaders are at the 30,000 foot level, that we're focusing on goals and objectives, but that we also incorporate the actions that need to be done so that the staff can take and run with those. So are we all good on kind of that foundation, the difference between the two and what we're focusing on? Okay, great. So let's dive in. Here's just an example. I just wanted to throw this in there again so you can see kind of what we're going to be walking through. And so here we go. So before we walk in through each of these, there are 5 strategic themes that emerged from all of this data. And so the first one is infrastructure, which we're going to walk through. The second one is public safety. The third is parks and recreation. The fourth is growth and development. And the fifth is leadership. So you will have 5 high-level strategic themes. So the first one, you can see infrastructure. There are 4 goals that have been listed. Protect water quality by implementing water and wastewater improvements. A safe and effective transportation network. Expand broadband access through the community. And then safe, reliable, and affordable electric services. Those are the 4 goals under infrastructure. Okay? And so, if you look at the first goal, you'll see each of these objectives. Proactively monitor water and wastewater treatment for future growth. Review and modify the rates and the development fees to ensure that funding is available for infrastructure renewal, replacement, and expansion. Deploy technology that allows customers to see real-time consumption data so that they can make informed decisions, and continue investing in cleaner utility systems to provide for growth. So those objectives are just under the first goal within infrastructure. And you can see a lot of this, not a lot, but everything that you all had said were important to you as goals are still included in this. We have included them as action items under specific objectives, So I want to stop there and see if there's discussion around this first goal, around water quality, and looking at wastewater and water improvements.
Thoughts, questions, clarity?
Glad I don't see windmills in here.
That being electric.
So, a protectively monitor water, wastewater treatment facility review. I mean, we're talking about protecting water quality. So it is, help me understand, this is what the commission will use to turn to staff and say, hey, we've set you 4 objectives and you've checked 1, 2, 3, right? Is a resident going to come in and say, well, wait a minute, you guys just adopted a theme that says that you first goal, protect water quality, but you're allowing houses on 1 acre lots to put in septic systems. How does that align with your vision?
So what will happen is, once these are agreed to at the high level, staff will come back, and you see where the action items are. There'll be very specific things under each objective. And that's what you will hold yourself accountable for. If it's not in
So
here.
we're voting on the objective and already right now what the action item is going to be to achieve the objective?
I'm just showing you examples. Right now, we're at the high level. You're voting on the goal and the objective. The action items are still to come. And there's a lot of work that has to be done with the staff to do those. What you're saying is, do we want a goal that obviously protects water quality? Okay? Is there anything else under this goal that we're missing that's an objective? You know you're going to proactively monitor. You know you're going to look at the rates. You know you want to deploy technology, and you know you want to continue investing. There's probably all those, the East State Road 26, the water storage tank, the force main, all of those are action items to say we're going to continue investing. So these are just examples to say, yes, we agree with you when you did your goals that those need to be in there, but really the objective is you as leadership are going to find ways and working with staff to continue investing in cleaner utility systems. So again, we're way up here. We're not way down here. We're not, the staff is the ones who are doing the
I'm with you.
operation.
I'm with you. I'm
Okay.
just, the goal is definable by how you define water quality, right?
Right, and
And are
so,
we trying to define water quality at the 25, at the 30,000 foot level? And maybe this is, I'm trying to look at it from the resident side, from the commission side, and from staff side. So this sounds great, but I want to understand when we say, hey, Mike, go protect water quality, now that can be interpreted in multiple directions, right? So when we start laying out what that plan really means, and I think this is an important clause, right, by implementing water and wastewater improvements, right? So I'm just thinking out loud, which is what a workshop's intended to do. Commissioner Martin?
Well, I guess in processing, I'm thinking, if our goal is, we want better roads. The objective is we want all the roads to be A quality by 2025. The action item is, okay, in 2023, we need to be done here. In 24, we need to have set aside X number of dollars to do this and that to achieve that.
I guess that's kind of
that
what.
make sense?
Yeah, and so why
That's how
doesn't
I'm
the goal?
processing it in my head.
Why isn't the goal just strategic planning for water and wastewater needs to keep up with growth?
because,
Isn't that more precision point for, when we had infrastructure here as an idea, it was make sure our water and wastewater systems aren't the thing that we have to say somebody, no, you can't do that because we can't hook you into water and sewer. So this seems to be a little bit too nebulous and can go in different directions when and everything that's, as an example, everything that's written here is about maintaining a water and wastewater system that won't become the reason why we have to say no, right?
so
Mike?
what is the picture of a,
If you want to go ahead, I'll come.
No, I was just gonna, so I think what is the story? What's that future condition? What's the story you're trying to tell with this goal? Don't look at the objectives, just look at the goal.
The story I want to tell is that our water and wastewater infrastructure will keep up with our growth. I mean, that's,
And my comment plays into that.
and that you might not be aware of Alaska County politics, but if you just throw out protect water quality, that can go in 1,000 different directions, right? And I think everything we're talking about is water and wastewater infrastructure, right? It's under infrastructure, but then we get sort of a much more broad statement after that, right? I think everybody right here is saying we want our infrastructure to keep pace, right? We want it to be up to date. We want it to provide great tasting water. But that's this 30,000 foot
So I
goal.
feel like what's missing is the growth piece within the goal. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Because what you keep saying
Yes.
is to keep up with growth.
I would say the goal 1A1
Yes.
is to implement and maintain water and wastewater improvements to keep up with Newberry's growth rate.
Okay, so when you think of a goal, we don't say implement and maintain. We try, it's again,
You said it right there.
but it's in the objective. But so what you're trying to do is, it's not as actionable. So when I say, if I were to read this to the citizens and say, protect water quality, I can see, okay, that vision, you want to protect it, and the way you're going to do it is implementing water and wastewater improvements. So it needs to be more of a statement that's a visual than a specific action. And I know that's hard. Were you going to comment?
I was. I think that water quality and most things speak to capacity, which is making sure we have enough of something, plus the quality of something. So when I think wastewater plants, I think about expanding the capacity so that we can handle more sewage, but I also think about the quality of treatment we get going through that treatment plant. So currently, we have a Class B level of treatment. The state has issued us a permit that says we're going to have to improve upon that. And so to me, I think that when you say protect water quality by implementing water and wastewater improvements as an overall goal, that makes sense. And then an objective says you need to have capacity, which is what the first one says. That deals with growth and quantity. And then further down, then we say we need to have funding.
No, you're skipping ahead. We're supposed to be just thinking big picture.
Well,
I'm
the
giving
objectives are
examples
the
here.
picture.
I'm giving examples of, to your point, that if we were to get the goal to speak strictly to quantity and capacity, then we wouldn't, as we move forward, find any significance in improving the quality of the treatment that would then further protect the environment.
I just think that's a very engineer-esque perspective. And I'm thinking about the resident who's going to stand here and say, it says protect water quality. Commissioner Martin.
Well, in my head, quality of the water has nothing to do with the wastewater treatment. And these are two kind of competing, or they're speaking to two different things.
Okay.
Because I get that, having a functioning wastewater treatment center does improve the quality of the water, but it's almost kind of flipped around. Like,
Why don't we just say provide high quality
I'm almost thinking
water?
like quality shouldn't be quality. It should almost be like capacity or something.
Resources, I heard resources.
Protect water resources by implementing water and wastewater improvements.
How about just provide high quality water and wastewater in the city of Newberry facilities? That I can't get any more 30,000 foot level than that,
Yeah.
right? Provide high quality water and wastewater facilities.
Is that too generic?
No,
I mean, that, to me,
You
it
seem pretty
seems
adamant about that.
yeah, it's not. It's,
more to the point.
well,
But it's-
and it paints the picture,
Right.
right? So say it one more time.
Provide high-quality water and wastewater facilities.
Let me read it. So is it just facilities, though? Because some of this speaks to technology, it speaks to development fees. I think it's more than facilities.
Provide high-quality
Systems.
water and wastewater systems. Services, all right, we're customer service. Provide high-quality water and wastewater services to our residents.
Sure.
Sure.
You with us? You with us?
Sure.
So what I have is protect high-quality water and waste.
Provide.
I'm sorry.
Provide
I got it.
high-quality
Yeah, I
water
got
and
it. I
wastewater
just said the wrong word.
services.
High-quality water and wastewater systems, services.
I want to
To our
keep on
residents.
this word service.
Okay. Provide high-quality water and wastewater services to our residents.
I think that, I can hear
That makes more-
commissioners,
That makes much more sense to me.
yeah, I can hear that coming from the dais. Mike, we want you to provide high-quality water and wastewater service. That's a 20,000 foot, now they go figure out how to make that happen, right?
And so for them
Which
to
would
do
be
that,
the
they're gonna
objectives.
proactively monitor, they're gonna look at development fees, they're gonna deploy technology.
I don't think anything else on this page changes, right?
Comments from city manager or anyone else?
Ultimately, I don't vote.
I know.
I think that protect water quality by implementing water and wastewater improvements is broader and more on point for what we're trying to do. And I get there, I mean, the reason that we do water and wastewater treatment is to protect water quality. It's not for any other reasons. We in the day, we just put it out on the ground. And, but we found out that we were contaminating our water sources. So I think that the overall objective of why you're in the water wastewater business is to protect water quality. And I think it could be confusing when you speak to protecting water quality through wastewater treatment, because when we hear water quality, we think potable water for consumption. But in the environmental business and the wastewater business, they put wastewater under water protection and water quality. And the, you know, when you're dealing with the regulatory community, it's the division of water, water quality.
I just don't know if the public.
Yeah, and I think the disconnect between staff and at least the speaking commissioner here and myself is, what I think we're being tasked to do is what is the 30,000 foot level, which I think is more on point with what we just said. Everything Mike just said is a very staff-esque engineer answer to achieve that the public is not going to understand. Mike's just gave
Ask the public.
15 differentiations about what it means inside the industry when we say this. Mike and Jamie, the only ones here that are in the industry, you know, so it's a good idea. Public, did you understand what Mike just said? I got about half of it. Tripp understood it. You like, thank you. All right.
All right, so what
Public went with-
we have is provide high-quality water and wastewater services to our residents.
Yes.
And we're okay with the objectives and the action items.
Were we supposed to go, I thought the action
you're
items were
not-
going to be,
Excuse me, the goals and objectives.
Okay.
Are we good with those?
I think so.
Okay.
We're not changing objectives, are we?
I don't think any of them need to change,
No.
right?
If you have comments
Well,
on them, we absolutely want comments.
Yeah.
I like it like it is.
Okay. Okay, let's move on. Goal A2, a safe and effective transportation network. So, under here you have 4 objectives. Again, we provided action items so you could see. We're looking at the goal, A2, and each objective. So, develop additional funding mechanisms for transportation projects. increase road connectivity and reduce traffic circulation problems, require proposed developments to provide for connectivity to existing and arterial roadways. And I have a reference here to goal D1. You'll see what I mean when we get to D1. And then objective A 2.4, offer alternative transportation opportunities such as sidewalks, multimodal trails, etc. So I'll stop there. So you can see, I think, a safe and effective transportation network, that paints a picture to me. So I'd love your feedback, though.
I've read every one of it. I like this.
Commissioner Martin?
I don't know how much in the weeds we want to get about impact fees, because I don't know that we've had a formal discussion about it. And then, Angela, do we get pigeonholed to provide these sorts of things regardless of what the circumstances present themselves? For instance, if there is a commercial district or commercial facility that wants to go in on a property, if there's not an arterial road nearby, are we required to make the developer all of a sudden go a mile or a half mile to get to an arterial road and have to put in a sidewalk and have to put in a bike trail or scooter trail or go-kart trail?
No. And here's what I would say. The thing to remember, everyone, years ago when people would do strategic planning, it was always like it's set in stone. That's not what strategic planning is. If your strategic plan is not flexible and adaptable, then it's not going to be successful. So there may be action items that fall under that where you may have new code or new policy that's been put in place there's exemptions in there. So there's a lot of action items that have to go under that, but that doesn't mean that. By saying this here, you're not saying what you just said. You would not have to make the developer do that.
Okay, that's what I don't want.
Right. But what your objective is that if new developments come in, you do want to have a strategy that you try to connect them to the existing and arterial roadways. It's not always going to be able to happen, but as they're going through the development process, that should be at the forefront of the discussion.
Yeah, I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with that at all. I just, when it makes sense, we should strive to try to do that, but if it doesn't, I don't want to have to be forced to because we have something on paper that, 5 years from now, we wrote 5 years from ago.
No, and also remember, Goal D1, the future-focused roadmap for community planning, that's really your comprehensive plan. So you're going to have a lot of those things addressed as well in the comprehensive plan. That will refer back to this. All this is saying is, in order to provide this safe and effective transportation network, this is something that should be considered at the very beginning.
Okay.
I'm seeing these as examples. So at the end of the year, we say, Mike, tell us what you did to provide a safe and effective transportation network this year. Mm-hmm. And he turns back and says, well, we worked on the expansion of the road resurfacing, right? We got the engineering for the Seaboard Drive. Maybe not everything on this page gets done, but then, or maybe something new has popped up that we can't foresee now. Something has made one of these projects not viable.
Yeah, and what I would recommend, I'll go ahead and put it out there now. We had some discussions with staff as well, but I wouldn't recommend you wait till the end of the year.
Metaphorically.
Metaphorically,
yes.
You need to have quarterly status updates.
Quarterly, it's like every 11 o'clock at night. Mike, what did you do?
At a minimum quarterly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I'm hearing consensus. You had a concern. I think I addressed it, hopefully. But I feel like you guys are good with this goal.
Yes.
Yes.
Public comment on effective transportation network. Like safe transportation, effective transportation. Anybody want a rowboat? All right, we'll move on.
Okay, so then the last two under infrastructure are expand broadband access throughout the community. That's goal 3. And you'll see there's only 2 objectives under that. It is to evaluate and analyze the expansion opportunities, and then identify opportunities to partner with federal, state, local, and private entities for the expansion. So I think it's pretty clear and concise. I mean, you as a government are not going to expand broadband, but I think it's per se, you can't go out and do it, but you have the ability to see where there are opportunities and who you should be partnering with, and I think this gets to that.
I agree.
So what,
Commissioner Farnsworth, microphone.
so with our last broadband study that we did a few years ago, I mean, it was totally cost prohibitive to expand the broadband even within the city. So I was wondering, how would that be implemented?
I think at this point in time, that the language here, evaluate and analyze and identify opportunities, it just says we're keeping our eye out. And if something changes, that study that is at this point 5 years old, we'll evaluate it when it comes to us. I know Alachua County is putting a big chunk of their ARPA money towards this. Every city, at the last League of Cities, talked about using a fairly significant portion of their ARPA money, including us. Remember, we're doing a loop. It's not really a loop, but a ring, which won't necessarily speak to getting broadband out, but it will provide an opportunity for private companies to be able to come in, and maybe, between that ring and what the county is trying to do, there might be an opportunity. I don't know if an elected official, Kat Kennick, has a huge plan on the horizon of announcing at some point in time that she's going to do. Chuck Clemens has something for broadband. Everybody is focused on this. So, I would say that probably the best thing for us to do is just do the ring that's going to take care of our needs and wait for this thing to figure itself out, because there's a whole lot of other folks throwing money at this, and we'll see how it.
Because I'm all for expanding it. I'd really like to see that. I was kind of disappointed the last time that we weren't able to implement it.
Yeah, that study was pretty damning.
And I think the other thing is, I know that something else that's under, I believe it's under leadership, but looking also at grant opportunities, this would be another place where, you want to keep it on your radar, because if there is an opportunity to bring some dollars in, as you said, it definitely is a goal that you're trying to achieve for your residents. So,
Dallas, did you have anything to add?
I was just going to kind of reiterate what you're saying. What this goal and objective mean to at least staff is that if someone comes forward with an opportunity, a private investor, private internet service provider, the city will attempt to facilitate that project without necessarily building our own internet system, where we want to be open to the business and open to expanding without us getting into the business.
yep. All right.
Go over and do goal, safe, reliable, affordable electric services.
Yes. So as you can see here, again, I think that paints a picture, the goal does. And so there are 5 objectives under this. And so the first one is around looking for an additional connection point for the bulk power supply. Looking at technology, again, that allows customers to see real-time consumption data. Implementing the utility system upgrades. Again, it could be through undergrounding, vegetation management, storm hardening, looking at competitive bulk power opportunities within the Florida Municipal Power Agency, and then exploring opportunities to expand the territory.
What is affordable electric service?
Free.
When people come to me and they say we want affordable housing, I say, well, what do you think is affordable? And they say, well, I can afford $600 a month, and I don't know where that exists anymore. So that word affordable, it seems to me it's another place where someone's going to kind of say, hey, you set a goal affordable, and this isn't affordable. Well, who's judging that word affordable? Because when we show you our rates compared to everybody around us, people say, well, I don't care about everybody around us, I'll care about Newberry, right? Okay, well, what does that mean then? What if we're higher than everybody around us, right? Does it matter then? So if you put that up there at the top, safe, I can measure safe, I can measure reliable, right? We used to have 2 blips a day. I never came home to the same time. Yeah, that was- So those I can rate, but affordables just seems to be like something that's, again, going to get us into this sort of nebulous.
You feel like it's
I would
subjective?
say, safe, reliable, and competitive.
Competitive.
That's a good word.
He stole the only thing I had to say. He just stole.
No, I didn't.
He jumped in front of me.
It's how.
Safe,
yeah.
reliable, and
Coded
competitive electric services. That's good. I think it paints the picture. Any comments over here?
Are we referring to competitive as in pricing? Is it competitively priced?
No, I want guys screaming up top, right? Fast, blue ribbon.
Just trying to eliminate the confusion.
Yeah.
Just asking a question.
So is it,
I mean, I think from the context of going from affordable to competitive, that was our thought. Well, how are you saying that's not, that's,
I'm not,
That's
if
trying to
that was the
clarify.
intent, then I would say competitively priced.
competitive pricing?
That's all.
competitively priced electric services?
Competitively priced?
Okay. Safe, reliable, and competitively priced
Priced
electric
electric services.
services.
Mike wants copyright on that one.
So, no, I think it's good. Again, it goes back to painting that picture, right? To your residents, to your employees, and to the community. I think it's good. I think it's good. Safe, reliable, and competitively priced electric. Okay.
All right.
What about the objectives? I mean, I think they're clear and concise, but do they resonate?
I mean, I think all of these speak to something I've heard every commissioner talk about.
Okay.
Any public comments on the objectives under electric service? Anybody? Come on down. You can have a seat there, Mr. Boyd, while you give your speech, so you don't have to try to hold that mic up. Not speech, I mean a comment.
No, I agree with the eliminating the word affordable because it is very subjective and replacing it with competitively priced. I mean, that was kind of what I was going to suggest, but apparently I'm not the only one that's thinking that way.
Perfect.
Thank you, sir.
Yep. That's why we do this. All right. I think we can move on.
I think let's go to public safety.
It looks like you might be still reading. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I did make 2 edits.
Yes,
edits?
please. Don't want to jump over you.
I wrote
Which one are we on for you?
objective 4.3.
Okay.
Okay.
Implement utility system upgrades with undergrounding, vegetation management, and storm hardening practices.
Oh, I like that. With, 1 second.
Or is that more of a, or is that,
Does that,
that almost teeters on action item to me, but
does that, I'm asking Mike because this is not does that make sense from a utility
The addition
perspective?
of the word practices?
Yes.
I think so. I
Okay.
think it improves it.
Okay.
Hey, we did something Mike liked tonight. All right. There's one. There's one.
With underground. Okay, perfect. And you said you had
You had
another
one
one?
more. No?
no, it was just.
Just that one?
Instead of by and then added the word practice.
Perfect. Good job. All right. All right, public safety. Okay, so there's only 2 goals under public safety. The first is protect our community through a professional and responsive fire department. You can see there's 4 objectives under here. Hire, train, and equip highly qualified personnel. Maintain service levels through the diversity of fleet and equipment. Provide the tools, resources, and training that should be needed to improve ISO rating, and then establish in-house advanced life support certification.
That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. That's a
All
lot.
Do we need the word responsive up in the goal? Seems to me responsive is, professional is responsive, responsive is
I mean, a fire department that doesn't respond is not very professional.
Right.
I mean, I think of, when I hear the word responsive, I'm more in like a customer service type
Yes.
mind frame, you know, which might not be the 20,000-foot level. That might be more, hey, Mike, our fire department's not very friendly. They're great at saving you from a fire, but they're, you know.
They've got the bedside manner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's a
Right.
comment from staff because they were very involved.
When we were talking about responsive, I think we were also thinking about response time.
Yes.
That's what hits me is response time when I read that.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, it still seems like the professional attributes of the fire department, if they don't make it there for 20 minutes.
I feel like responsiveness related to timing issues falls under the professional, but to your point about the responsive is more of a customer service oriented.
So leave it in and people can interpret it both ways. Hey, you're supposed to be friendly while you're saving people.
Well, and I also think that going back to what you said about affordable, I kind of feel that way about professional. Because what one person may think is professional, the other person may not. And so I think, in my professional opinion, I couldn't help myself, I had to go there. I think responsive also, again, it's that broad statement of future condition. And to me, it's the professional is the customer service, the responsiveness is the courtesy.
Well, it certainly
So-
doesn't take anything away from the statement by having it
Yeah,
Right,
I agree.
in there. All right.
all right.
Why not?
What about the objectives? You feel that everything is covered there?
How's it seems like improving the ISO rating, is that the commission's job? Is that staff's job? Is that the fire department's job? Whose job? Because, I mean, there's so much that goes into the ISO rating. Annexations can have effects on ISO ratings, so it seems,
So I think it's why we provide the tools, resources, and training, needed. And it wasn't just improve the ISO rating. When we first started this, it was just improve ISO, and we said, no, we need to clarify that. And so I think it's more than just, it's the commission, again, if budget is needed, it's approving the budget to be able to do it. If it's training, it's the fire chief making sure that the training is available for his firefighters. So that's kind of where we went, but I don't know if we want more clarification from staff, but
I mean, it certainly seems to me like the chief is in the best position to educate Mike, to educate us on how to go about improving that ISO rating. I think about how, you know, if someone says, well, you know, we need you to expand your urban service corps because that's, you know, there's already business out of there and it's killing our ISO rating. Is that compel us now? It's become another reason. I'm not against it. It just seems like an outlier in the rest of these objectives, but maybe it's not. Commissioner
I
Martin.
got another one.
Go for it.
It seems like 1.1 addresses a lot of the tools, resources, and training.
And 1.3.
And there seems like an overlap there, but if we just changed 1.3 to something just generically around, you know, monitoring or analyzing opportunities to maintain or improve the ISO rating, make it more targeted to the ISO rating without, because all those tools, resources, and training, I mean, it's,
Yeah.
so, and I just want to make a comment, and then I know Mike's going to comment as well, but, so the first one is really about personnel, where the third one I think is larger than personnel, so, and then Mike, did you want to comment?
That was exactly my comment, is the first one really speaks to personnel. The second item there speaks to fleet and proper equipment. Third one, ISO reading, is most related to infrastructure, and I'm talking about water system infrastructure. So
High quality water.
When you are deciding as a community that you have an objective of improving your ISO rating, one of the ways that you demonstrate that is by improving funding towards your water system infrastructure. You build an elevated water tank so that you have adequate fire flow at each fire hydrant. You extend the water system down to eastern irrigation because that is a building that lacks adequate fire protection according to the ISO rating today.
It's another building.
It also takes into account, ISO rating also takes into account fleet and personnel, but it's broader than that, and you can have the greatest fleet in the world, and we do, and we have as highly of trained staff as you can have, and our ISO rating is not going to budge unless we do other things like enhance our water system.
And it,
So what-
and it
Commissioner Coleman.
also saves on our insurance, am I correct? Saves us money there.
It should, yes.
Right.
So I wonder if we could just reword it. I liked what you said. Instead of analyze, what if we said identify opportunities to provide the tools, resources, and training needed to improve ISO rating? Because what you're basically saying is what are the opportunities that would help improve, but you need to look at tools, resources, and training. That's what I'm hearing?
I like it.
I mean, I think because I think you were concerned that it's just like you have to provide those. But I think what I'm hearing you say as a government that you need to like identify those opportunities. Yes, no? Am I lost?
I think so. So I would say, we're just leaving it there?
I would,
And is there, what Mike's talking about is an overlap between theme A and theme B. Should there be a asterisk
There
that lets
should
us
be.
know when we are hitting something that goes across the board?
yes, let me see. I think it might be A1.1, which is proactively monitor water and wastewater treatment facility. I don't know if that would be it. I don't know that it's really, let me go back to the infrastructure one. I don't know that there is one that would be connected to this.
Yeah, and one,
I'm sorry?
theme A, action, or object 1.4, action item 1, storage tank construction.
But those are actions, so I wouldn't.
That's my question isn't about labeling them objective actions. It's when we're doing an action that speaks to more than one, shouldn't we note that?
Yes, that's what we've done in previous, but I don't know that the action, we don't have action items yet for what we were just discussing. Correct?
Yes.
Identify, yet. We do not have action items. We have infrastructure, all we have under there is we just listed a couple things under B 1.3, infrastructure, fleet, training, response time.
Okay. So we're good with B13, we'll change need to needed, provide tools, resources, and training needed to improve ISO rating.
Right,
And
so it'll read identify opportunities to provide.
then we'll come back to this point about whether or not we should make note of when one action item speaks across to multiple.
Yes, I'm making a note.
All right. Are we ready to move to B2? B2, protect our community through a professional law enforcement department.
It's pretty self-explanatory.
Yep. So you have a plan for the establishment of the Newberry Police Department, maintain a strong partnership with the Alachua County, should it say Alachua County Sheriff's Office or just Alachua County Sheriff? Which is proper, I don't know.
I'd say the
would
office
say the
because we
office.
deal with more with other people.
Sheriff
that-
changes.
Okay, I got, I added office.
We're on and share.
Thank you.
I do it all.
I know. Okay, and then explore and identify partnership opportunities to enhance law enforcement services. We'll be talking about that more in Goal E3, which is foster partnerships that strengthen our community. Yes, good?
Good here? That's it?
All right. Parks and Recreation. We heard a lot about this, and there are 3 goals: community-wide events for all ages within the community, park and green space expansion, and promote healthy lifestyle opportunities. So first goal, community-wide events. You'll see there's 3 objectives. Support and facilitate community-led events and festivals by providing city services to community and faith-based organizations. Continue to offer the West Fest Festival in April of every year. Establish annual community events survey for better coordination and planning.
Well, you gotta let everybody else in. What, did you find another typo or something? Is that-
No, it's just the 1, 2, I kind of looked over my shoulder and Dallas was pointing at like.
Oh,
We don't have to say in April of every year. We can say annually.
I mean, I think, let's focus on the goal there for a minute, because I think we might want to add that to support community-wide events for all ages. Because it sounds to me like we're saying that our responsibility is to put on community-wide events.
Support.
I agree with that.
So I'm sorry, you lost me. Are you talking about the first objective or the goal
I'm
statement?
on goal. I'm on
Okay,
goal.
so what you want?
I'm in my mind, and I just want to reiterate this again. In my mind, I'm seeing objectives as interchangeable. These are examples. These are things that could be used, but these are the things that the staff is going to say, hey, this was our objective to meet the commission's goal. We heard from the commission, right? And so we may be not communicating well on that point, but I'm thinking that these guys are really issuing the goal. We want community-wide events for all ages. But the way I would interpret that is that now we are saying we have a responsibility to host community-wide events, and I think this board certainly likes to bring the community together, but I don't know that it's necessarily a core function of government to host community events. So I would say support.
Broadband stuff.
Right. We want to support it if it comes, right? So if the concerned citizens say, hey, I want to put it on Juneteenth, city will close down the road and we'll help advertise and we'll do that, but it's not our job to put on, the festival.
Do you understand the difference?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm just trying, I don't like the word support.
Well, I'm not real favor of that either, because then
Yeah.
someone says, well, now you have to support
Right,
the
yeah.
event. So I'm trying to figure
Facilitate's a
out,
good word.
facilitate.
So that's what we tried to get to in the first objective. So I guess,
Foster.
I like
foster.
foster, because that's kind of
Good
how I
job.
see it, right? We want to foster. You can copyright that one. You got one?
I like
You
that.
got one?
Foster community-wide.
All right, Bonnie and Tony,
That
come on.
paints a picture.
You guys,
Good.
I'm just listening.
yeah.
All right, so we have foster community-wide events for all ages within the community. And then what about the objectives? So I changed 1.2 to read, continue to offer the West Fest Festival annually instead of in April of every year.
Do I annually?
I'd just say continue to offer West Fest, if the world aligns, the stars align.
Do we need anything in there about?
I mean, right now, we're going like 1 out of 4.
Is this the Eagle? I think it sounds
Mike?
better. Annual.
Would that essentially just one of the one above it?
It is, but I felt like staff felt it was,
I mean, it does.
Maybe needed to
that
be
was
a
my thought: is
standalone 'cause
why
it's
is
a
West Fest a
signature.
standalone?
Yeah, I'm fine with it being.
Because I was like, where's Watermelon Festival at here? But
Well, I mean, there's 2 things that the city does. There's 3. I mean, West Fest and MLK Day
Right.
are technically city events, right? So why would West Fest?
so would we add in,
and you got the Christmas parade, and
Look, that's the Watermelon Festival that does that. We foster.
yeah, we
We
foster.
We foster the Watermelon
So
Festival.
which are the two events? You do West Fest.
West Fest and MLK are official city.
And the Christmas tree lighting.
Christmas tree lighting, I guess, has now risen to the level of festival. And I mean, if you're not, you can't be the Christmas capital of the world if you don't mention the Christmas tree lighting in your objective. So, yeah.
So what if we said, we just list them out? Or would it be better we could either list them out or specifically say,
Why don't we just delete C2 and carry all of that under C1? Support facility, community-led events, festivals, providing.
well, so where I was going
Because we
with,
might add another one at some point in time, or we may.
yeah, you could
delete.
do that, but I think the difference between 1.1 and 1.2 is 1.1 is you're supporting community-led events. 1.2 is you as a city are putting on events. So if you don't want it in there, it's fine, but I think that's the distinction between the two. So 1.2 could be continue to offer citywide events that include West Fest Festival, MLK, and Christmas tree lighting. Or, because I feel like the first one is more around you're providing city services for events in the community, whereas you do host and, like you said, put on a few citywide
I'm
events.
fine with just listening.
Yeah, let's just, and then we can always, I mean, what's the modification process? You know, like the comp plan's gonna take us 6 months to go back, pull something in, or is this a one meeting? Hey, we wanna add a Easter festival, put it in there.
Well, that's why I think we,
Strategic plan.
Yeah.
yeah,
So this
exactly.
is in-house, so we can
I'm
list them.
gonna say
This is what we
city-
have now.
I'm
right?
gonna say citywide events. That,
Sponsored events.
thank you.
Seems to be distinguishing between us and what else is happening.
So these aren't city fostered, these are city sponsored.
There we go.
Yes. Well, goal is
Such
foster.
as, all right,
C2
so
is
continue to offer city-sponsored events such as West Fest Festival, MLK, is it just called MLK?
MLK Festival.
Okay, and,
Okay,
and the
MLK
Christmas
Day.
tree lighting. How does that sound?
Perfect.
Just one if it's all of that.
Okay. All right, what about the,
What is the survey? Did we already do that? I don't.
no, this would be something new.
Be reaching out to the communities, events they'd be interested in having in the community.
Opportunity to hear from your citizens,
Yeah,
basically.
Is that an action item? Sounds more actionable. How would that, in your mind, Dallas, how's that? We send out a utility bill?
Seems
and
more like
it's-
an action item under 1.1 for me.
Yeah, either, the ways we've done it in
It
the
could
past,
be,
utility
yes.
bill, email blast, Facebook, however we wanted to do it. We didn't go too in depth how we would actually do it.
I mean, I like the idea. I
Information
mean,
from the community about what do you guys want us to do?
yeah. I mean, I like the idea. It would be good information. I mean, the thought that I had most frequently as we work through this process is, oh, we have that, right? I mean, I don't know how many times I read in the survey, we need walking trails. Have you ever been to Easton? Nice walking trails out there. We need more parks. We got like 8, So the survey could be, if we hear we need walking trails, then that could drive our PR the next month of, hey, visit Easton's walking trails,
Okay, I was gonna take a break, okay.
But
So,
it does seem like more of an action item probably under
So-
C1.
and maybe it's not worded correctly, I think where this was going was surveying the residents, and that to me is separate, right? Because it's not,
I thought that's what we're talking about, surveying residents.
right, but I think that's a little bit different than supporting and facilitating. In other words, it's different than supporting and facilitating or providing city services for faith-based organizations and
Sure.
community-based organizations. I think this is getting input from your residents on, should we be offering more? Are we not offering enough? I mean, I think that's really what this is about. And that to me is a separate objective than either 1.1 or 1.2. It's
Okay.
just a question of if it's something you want to.
I'm good, I want to do it. I don't know about just doing it once a year, so does it establish annual survey? Does that mean that it's just doing it once? Because and what you described, I can see that happening in micro bursts, 3, 4, 5 times a year.
Well, the way I would interpret the annual, that's the minimum. We have to do it at least annually,
Yeah.
but like you said, we could do smaller ones throughout the year.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
And I think we do a lot of these surveys.
right.
My team does. We work with a lot of professors at USF. And the one thing that's also really good about surveys is people forget that they're two-way feedback. So it's an opportunity to educate your residents as well. So, you might.
Are you happy with the 8 parks that we have?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was my point. So I think there's an opportunity
Yeah.
to do the survey as an educational piece, but also to get feedback.
Which one of Newberry's 8 parks do you visit most often?
Exactly. And here's the list of the 8, right? So,
Yeah. All right, do we
Okay.
need a bio break before we move on?
yes, I
or
was just gonna recommend.
Anybody's free to just get up and excuse themselves to keep the night moving. Okay, any public thoughts on parks, recreation,
All right.
those kind of things?
Okay,
All right.
let's go on to the last two within Parks and Recreation. So goal C2 is park and green space expansion. And there are 4 objectives under here. This is related to expanding parks where they're feasible, specifically to enhance recreational opportunities, preserve and acquire green spaces for passive parks, coordinate expansion with the master comprehensive plan. Again, that goes to referring to goal D.1, and then improve existing parks and facilities to accommodate accessibility needs.
Are we all meaning the same thing when we say green space? So I just listened to a presentation on the P&Z where it was about a neighborhood, but the guy was arguing that it would preserve green space because it's going to be larger lots, keep the trees, you won't see the neighborhood. And I have to admit that kind of fits at least part of what I think about when I think of green space. But when I think of parks and green space, I can certainly see the overlap there, but they also seem like we've been talking about a lot of green space as a belt around us. And in that framework, I'm thinking about ag land, open space, forestry, those kinds of things. I think Lois Fort Park, you could say, well, that's green space, right? There's trees, it's a canopy, right? So I'm not saying we should take this word out, but I think it's worth just noting that when we use that word, there's at least 3 or 4 different ways that I could think about green space where we might not be jiving when we talk about green space. Travis?
So, Mr. Mayor, you're on point with that. We had a discussion when we were putting this language in there, that some people see green space as what you're speaking of, like the belt that we're consistently talking about that we want to have around Newberry when we're trying to keep growth from infringing. But what we're talking about is more like what you said as far as Lois Fort Park, your passive parks, your nature parks, those kind of things. We have a lot of recreational parks. But aside from Lois Fort, that's about,
Right.
our limit of green space. Green space might not be the right word, but it's really passive parks.
I'm not opposed to green space. Just that is a word we've been bandering about a lot in this process, especially when it comes to our eastern corridor and trying to prevent, growing where you never know when Gainesville ends and we begin, that kind of a thing, right? But it did resonate with me if you say, well, I'm building a neighborhood that's 1.5 acre lots and we're going to leave all the century oaks and there's going to be a canopy and you'll never see the neighborhood and it'll look like green space. I'm thinking, yeah, that's
in the neighborhood. It's not really parks and rec.
Exactly. But that's kind of what made me think about it, because someone could say, well, look, hey, you right here, right? You want green space and it's in your goal, it's in your vision. You want that as part of your look and feel. And it may leave it the way it is, but let's continue just to know that when people use that word, we might have to hone in a little bit on what we're meaning. Mike?
At the risk of getting a little too staff technical, because I see there's some sensitivity to that. I would tell you that when you're in green space, your development standards speak to green space. And when I see parks and green space, and I think, oh, clearly we're speaking of something other than a park, because we just said the word park. So our green space and our planning in our LDRs, I can't cite the clinical definition, Brian probably could, but it speaks to retention basins, it speaks to common areas. We don't want development to be asphalt to asphalt, property line to property line. So most of our planning or zoning categories say that each zoning category has to have a certain amount of green space, and that could be landscaping areas, that can be retention areas, it can be common grassy green areas. That's how I interpret that, and I think when you want a community, Brian's disagreeing with me over there, so I'll stop and let Brian jump in because he's AICP and I'm not.
That's like anybody knows what that means. That sounds very technical.
Mr. Mayor, it's actually not green space in our LERs, it's open space. So the definition of open space can include all the things that the city manager mentioned. In a planning perspective, I think when you talk about green space, you're talking about undeveloped space that's generally I won't say untouched, but it's, you don't, it's not a planted area, it's a natural area. It's an area that's been generally undisturbed. And so it can be an area that has no structures on it. It can be an area that has very minimal structures on it. But in general, I think that's sort of the conception of green space. Whereas in our LDRs, when somebody builds a subdivision, there's going to be a minimum requirement for open space that's available for the new residents to use as common area and recreation area within the development.
Let me ask you, Brian. So let's say Travis hires somebody who used to work at Alachua County Parks and Rec. I know that doesn't exist, right? They come from Alachua County training framework, and they see this goal, and they say, oh, park and green space expansion. City of Newberry has set a goal on acquiring land for conservation. Would that be how they would interpret that?
I think if you're looking at, you're mixing the words, or the phrases green space and conservation together.
I am.
People are going to think of generally undisturbed, not inaccessible, but undisturbed in terms of it's a natural area for passive recreation, passive use. In another community I lived in, their parks were undeveloped. They didn't have any equipment. They didn't have picnic tables even or anything. It was just open green space, but it was well kept in terms of it was made to make it accessible to people for recreational use or passive recreational use, but it wasn't developed.
That sounds like just unimproved.
Generally, it is there's going to be you're absolutely right there. There's going to be a number of definitions depending on who's using the term.
Yes, however, I would comment that normally when you're doing the strategic plan, even though that is the goal, you would still be referring to the objectives, and the objectives are what help also explain. Remember, they're those they're the very specific things or outcomes that help you get to achieving that future condition, which is park and green space expansion.
So the staff's thinking about including green space in there instead of just saying park expansion was specifically about the passive parks, right? Because we've got enough baseball fields. So
Yeah, well, 2.2 tells you exactly what it is. Preserve and acquire green spaces for passive parks. So I don't have a problem with it, to be honest with you.
okay.
Just out of curiosity, because Brian made a nice clarification, would it be appropriate to say park and open space expansion?
That was going to be my last question there. I'm really good with either, as long as we, in my mind, whatever we put on paper is fine, as long as we all know what we mean when we put it down.
When I hear green space, I hear it's an open space.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with it.
So So open space.
And don't hire somebody from Gainesville Park and Rec, and we'll be good.
I think I'd rather see open space.
Open space, park and open space expansion. I mean, to me, that helps me know that we're talking about two separate things here, because when we've just used that word green space to apply to so many things, I myself get confused. Are we talking about, conservation? Are we talking about subdivisions that just don't cut down all the trees? Is this the green belt that we've been talking about?
But we're talking about parks and recs. We're not talking about subdivisions here. It's clean C.
Well, now you're getting angry and you're being.
No, man, I'm not angry. I'm just like cutting the.
Well, no, I was going to clarify, because what I heard, Brian, right? Brian, thank you. I had a moment there. What I heard Brian say was, when you're doing your comprehensive plan, open space is more related to subdivisions and open spaces as it relates to development, where a green space could just be a big grassy green area that the city owns and it's passive. People can walk their dog, well, maybe not, but they can walk on it, they can go fly a kite, they can do whatever they want. That was the distinction I heard.
All right,
You would fit in very well.
yeah.
Thank you.
Leave it green space, leave it open space, or just say park and passive park expansion.
No, I don't like that, I'm sorry.
Public.
Anybody got a thought? No? Come on now, Miss Lisa.
I'm his public reminder.
Good evening. Just the thing that came up for me as you talked about all of these things, and you said it when you were on the C1, is that we have so many of these spaces, and that people are, when they're saying they don't have anything, that maybe one of either the objectives or even one of the action items could be some way of, promoting that and communicating that. And that may lessen the need to build more if you have more usage for what's out there. And just communication or advertising or promotion either via
That sounds like an action
activities.
item to me too.
Yeah, I'm not sure under which piece it would go, but it just all is in the Parks and Recreations.
Yeah, I think we could put it under 2.1, and I think we could also reference the survey that we talked about in the previous goal, because that would help to get to it, right? And so I'm just making notes.
All right, I've heard one for open space, and anybody who else?
One that got angry.
One that got mad.
Open spaces, good.
Open spaces, parks and open passive spaces. Open spaces. Parks and open
Green space.
Okay, I think we're getting slap happy right now.
Goal 3.
All right.
Promote healthy lifestyle opportunities. Does that mean that Hardee's and everybody has to leave? Is that?
So the first one is really about fitness, environmental education, looking at the existing opportunities that are offered and making sure that those that are offered, the programming is consistent with what the community needs, and then looking at either developing new or expanding existing programs, again, based on participant needs.
I like.
My only thing with that is whether or not there's even a demand. If it's not even a blip in the survey or anything, are we going to be forced into providing these things when there's nobody in the audience or anything like that?
I mean, on that
How's that?
point, I want my Parks and Rec director telling me what he's hearing from the public and offering what he's hearing, which, right in this moment, I think is exactly what in our visioning process, we heard from folks that they want healthy lifestyle opportunities, right? But, so, I think what I would do though is maybe just change this to say, that promotes I don't know how to say that, I want my Parks and Rec director to promote what the public wants, but he or she will have their finger on that pulse on a consistent basis.
Does that communicate, or does this communicate that?
Well, I think where you were headed, this kind of pigeonholes us into a certain framework, right? That I always hear people say they want, but I don't know that I've ever seen anybody using all of the exercise stations that are on that walk around
Yeah.
Easton,
Yeah.
right?
I don't,
That's why I said often.
Right.
Yes.
So,
Travis.
Mr. Mayor, we do that now, basically speaking to what you're saying now. I mean, we're gauging interest all the time from residents, community members, things that they want to see us do, programs that they might want us to do. So it's kind of staying in line with currently how we're doing it.
I guess it just go to the headspace of, I want it to be demand driven.
Yeah.
Like what we're providing, I want it to be demand driven, not.
Promote demand-driven opportunities.
So, I'm sorry, I heard, what did you say?
Well, I was going off it, instead of saying promoting healthy lifestyle, just promote demand-driven opportunities. So that if we're hearing it,
That paints no picture for me, I'm sorry. That's,
The
that,
public,
yeah.
she's wanting to know, like, what is the demand, right? And that's why I kind of get into I think the same headspace of this is too micro for me, right? Like I would just leave it to the Parks and Rec director to say, this is what I'm hearing. And then he's gonna come and say, hey, everybody in town wants pickleball. And I want a pickleball.
Hey, I love
machine.
pickleball.
Me too.
Me too.
Yeah, everybody wants a skate park, right? Everybody wants a skate park, you know? And I mean, what, if it's in Parks and Rec, is it non-promoting health?
So I think one of the things if I could just comment, one of the things to remember when you do the strategic plan, remember, this is like a 5-year strategic plan,
Yeah.
right? So you also need to think this is kind of forward thinking. And so what you're saying is if you, let's say, keep this goal and these objectives with some tweaks in here, that's giving direction to staff to do exactly what you just said, is determine if the demand is there. They're already doing some of this. But the issue is they need to be reporting back and saying, okay, well, we need new programming in pickleball. And in order to do that, we need pickleball courts. And so that's got to be put in the budget. So this is really giving direction to say we're listening to what the residents are saying. We hear they want options, but we need to allow staff to kind of move forward and say we're going to focus on this. That's to me what this section is about.
Commissioner Martin?
Well, I was looking at the list, and I'm not really sure that we have provided direction with regards to demand-driven programming. Because we have providing events, we're talking about some physical infrastructure things on C2, but maybe C3 should be something more focused on the programming and the offerings.
I mean, I think it's been a while, but we did a lot of that when we were doing the remodel to Easton. Remember Commissioner Coleman was really pushing lacrosse courts, lacrosse fields, and we asked Travis to go out and do.
Public places
Yeah, but we wanted to know what, is there really the demand for lacrosse? What's the demand for? And that's how we got to the all-purpose fields, which would give us a little bit more variety. So I think we did that at a big level 4 years ago. Was it about 4 years ago? And then we haven't quite come back on an annual basis. Maybe that annual review. Hey, Travis,
Is the healthy lifestyle, like, as a specific to Pigeonhole? Should it be?
It's honestly in everything that we do. So as far as recreation, I mean, that's what it is.
What can you do in recreation that's not?
There's not much.
Yeah.
So what is
Recreational drugs.
What is bothering you? I'm still not
I guess
clear what the hiccup is. Is it the word promote? Is it?
To me, it just seems like it's already inherent in the job, and that's why it kind of. And I see healthy lifestyles, and I think Travis is going to have a mandate to go do a Zumba class or something, and one person's going to show up to it. But he's gonna say, well, I had to offer something, even though nobody's really asking for it, but that's clearly not how you're interpreting it. And if recreation is itself a healthy lifestyle, then I guess I would just be back to everything he does is goal C3.
What if we change it to explore offering character development, fitness, and environmental education programming?
Well,
I'm actually just fine leaving it alone and knowing that that's what we do anyway.
What if we,
also.
okay. Yeah, I guess where I'm struggling a little bit is, I hear what you're saying, Mayor, in regards to like, that's inherent to what they do, but I also feel that, there's more to it, right? Because it's coming back again to what I said, it's being able to meet the demand, but you have to do these objectives in order to figure that out. You have to plan in the budget. And so the other thing I think that's bothering me a little bit is trying to meet the needs of the community in terms of having it as a goal. And maybe promote isn't the right word for healthy lifestyle, but I feel like it's the image you're wanting to portray from Parks and Rec is that you have amenities or opportunities that promote a healthy lifestyle, right? I mean, that's what I think I heard from staff and in all the data. So I'm not sure, maybe promote healthy lifestyle opportunities isn't the right statement for that goal, but it's really about making sure that you have amenities and programming
I mean,
as it relates.
if healthy lifestyle is recreation, then I could take out healthy lifestyle and I could say promote recreational opportunities. And then I would have a recreational department. Right? Because isn't that what a recreation department does? Promote recreational opportunities.
Yeah, but again, it doesn't paint the picture. I think healthy lifestyle is different. Some people like to ride a bike, some people like to walk, some people want to play pickleball, some people,
Ping pong,
ping pong.
world champion.
I'm lost in why we have the word healthy in there and to me it seems, if we're talking about programming, let's gear it towards programming. And then programming is a little bit more generic because, to me, healthy is exclusionary of anything else.
I think healthy gives a picture, but what we're fighting about here is the different picture that's in everybody's mind when you say healthy, right? Yeah.
What about enhance the health and wellness of our participants through innovative and diversified parks, recreation, and leisure opportunities?
That's right. He's writing War and Peace over there. Yeah.
I like health and wellness. I like health and wellness. I think that paints a picture. But how we state it.
Promote.
Could you just say promote health and wellness opportunities?
That's what I was just.
It gets healthy lifestyle out, and health and wellness could be, you have a rec center with a gym or.
It's very broad.
Yeah, I feel like it's, if the healthy lifestyle is bothering you, what if it said that? Promote health and wellness opportunities. Or programming opportunities. Promote health and wellness programming opportunities.
Why not just promote programming opportunities?
Because it doesn't, I don't know what kind of programs you're talking about.
Yeah, but if we're fixated on us seeing the same image, it's going to be tough.
Well, I don't think we are, because we left green space, and that means different things to different people.
Yeah.
So I think, to me, health and wellness has a different meaning than it has to you, but it's still important to me. What is the hang-up? Is it the word health? I'm so...
I think from our perspective, if it's the goal, at that 20,000 foot, it's Travis, go do this, right? Which would be go promote some programming, promote diverse programming opportunities. That way I get into lots of offerings out there. I'm fine with just leaving it healthy lifestyle opportunities. It just seems like the English teacher in me says I could take out healthy lifestyles and put in recreation. It in essence means the same thing. It's lacking your visionary image criteria, right? But in terms of language, it's more precision points on what we're asking Travis to do. So maybe putting the promote diverse programming opportunities. And now we're saying, whatever we're hearing, make sure there's a little bit of something for everybody out there. I mean, I like what Travis said, but Travis, but that sounds more like a thesis statement than a fragment. And we seem to be wanting fragments. That's when you don't have a subject.
Okay, so we're either at leave it at healthy lifestyle or promote diverse programming opportunities.
Okay, when I think of parks and recreation, I think physical. Okay, and when I think of healthy, I think of gym. Is there a gym at your park?
At Easton? Well, there's the, I can do the pull-ups and
See,
the,
I think of physical. When I think of a park, I think of going outside, I think of playing, I think of staying in shape. Thanks, man, I appreciate that.
he's got your back.
He does.
Yeah.
That's what I think of. So, I mean, maybe we can put physical in there somewhere?
Promote physical, healthy.
Yeah.
Physical
I like how you
lifestyle.
said it too. You
Yeah.
emphasize on physical, I like that.
Diverse.
There you go, who said that?
Physical well-being.
Physical well-being.
Through diverse
Because you don't think,
recreational
let's
opportunities.
be real, you don't think of health when you think of a park.
I think
You
it's
think of having fun, running around, playing with Tim Martin,
Yeah.
dodgeball, stuff like that.
if you can dodge a wrench.
You can
Promote physical
dodgeball.
well-being opportunities. Or
When I think
what
of-
about
I think of
promote
Maison's
physical
Jones.
well-being programming?
Say that again?
Promote physical well-being programming. I mean, we're splitting hairs now
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah.
We just need some consensus. That's what I need.
Or we can come back to this one later. if
It's up
if
to
we
you
do.
guys.
I like any of the last three suggestions, right? Promote physical well-being through diverse programming opportunities. Blend them together. Promote physical well-being through diverse programming opportunities.
Promote general welfare to do ordain this Constitution for the United States of America.
Okay, promote physical well-being through diverse programming opportunities.
Is that good?
Are we good? Okay.
Do we need to
I don't
take a
like it
couple
as well as
minutes?
healthy lifestyle, but it's your plan, so we'll take it.
Let's take a short break.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to put lifestyle in there, you can, somewhere.
No, Lord, we're not going back.
Let's take a
All
short
right,
5 minute.
5-minute break, and we only have
recess.
2 sections left, and then we'll be done.
Unplugged.
He was unplugged, he went blurry.
Went
So-
from off to really on.
I'm going to get on a little bit of a soapbox.
Sure.
What I see in all of this, and all of these things are good, growth and development and revitalization of the Newberry downtown area, that is what Main Street is all about. And it would certainly be nice to either, be included in this piece as either part of the communication. I see you have the established partnerships, developing programs. Main Street already has resources at the state and national level to look at some of those things, to assist downtown businesses with aesthetic improvements and things like that. I'm not sure whether it'd just be a sub under one of those, or, if we're worthy enough of, getting our own D number.
I don't know, there's feedback. I mean, I was thinking a way to incorporate that concept would be to say, because develop programs just sound like we're going to do it. Develop programs and partners to assist in downtown businesses, and that way Main Street could be a partner. Anybody else could also be a partner that comes forward with a program. And maybe facilitate programs, because I don't know that we're actually going to be in the developing program. Is it in staff's minds that we're developing the programs to assist downtown businesses? We're going to come up with the rules, regs.
Through the CRA.
Through the CRA, but
Yeah.
Maybe back to foster.
foster programs.
The Main Street piece is a piece that needs developed. We just need to incorporate it into.
I agree with her. We need to put something in there.
An action item, right?
Yeah, that's where it'll go. We just need to make sure that,
So can you tell me a little bit more I know Main Street, but like how do you see it fitting in when you say incorporated? How do you see it fitting into this?
When I see development of programs, Main Street already has programs that, work and assist with downtown businesses, either in grants or finding ways to have the city stand, and not city, this group, but the entire city, involving all the community. For example, and I'll use one of the things we did, when we did the Christmas lighting, we had typically done just the Main Street corridor, which is a smaller portion of the city, but this last year, with the involvement of the city, we went citywide, and you saw, what I saw is people who wanted to be involved in the Christmas part and the shop locals and stuff like that, saying, what is Main Street? What do you do? Why are you, things that they didn't know? And I think it gives us an opportunity, one, to more educate, and two, to try to be more inclusive of all of the downtown, not only the downtown, even though that's our focus, because the revitalization is in the historic corridor.
I think that the develop programs and foster partnerships to assist. It's not whether Main Street is objective worthy, right? But it is about putting us in it's about putting it in a box, right? It's, if we are going to develop part, and I know that in my head, when I was reading D22, that's the Main Street, right? Because that facade grant program, the city needs Main Street to run that, right? But I don't know that we want to necessarily, there may be other partners out there. So saying develop programs and foster partnerships.
I put that in there.
That opens the door.
And then under an action item, I put Main Street collaboration.
That'd be awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, we're still very small, but we try to be mighty. And
no, you're
try
not.
to grow up. We have very small people involved, activity, volunteers and stuff, but we'll get
All
some
right.
growth. All right, thank you.
And then we'd put an asterisk on D23 because that hits another theme and another goal, right?
Yes.
Okay, any more thoughts on revitalization of Newberry downtown area? And we don't need to define what the downtown area is?
I don't
Know what our
think
downtown
so.
area is?
So,
Urban services area.
yeah.
No?
I would like to comment
Go
on
ahead.
downtown area. Yeah.
Absolutely, please do. Because I've heard about like 5 different definitions of the downtown
Well,
area.
and that's part of the problem, is that there were some definitions that were so rigid, and then there were these other businesses around that, I know, in Main Street, there were other businesses we want to get more inclusive with, but they were outside the downtown area. So, I mean, I don't want to put a rigid boundary on downtown, because as we grow and add businesses, we want to keep everybody involved. Don't you think?
But our CRA is defined, and most of these objectives are within the CRA, right?
But this doesn't have to be.
No. Go ahead.
I would just add to that, that our historic district is defined, and that was put together when Main Street was developed, and that's, something
Yeah.
we don't change.
Just leave it vague
Yeah.
and arguable.
Well,
Consultant feels very passionately about it. She's getting really irritated. No, just.
No. Because I think that there are a lot of things that go into downtown. You've heard them. You've heard CRA, you've heard Main Street,
Urban services.
urban services, and that's all downtown.
No.
No, it's not. It's not Newberry.
Yeah, all 3 of those things have distinct maps, very different things, different radiuses.
No,
So,
I understand that, but
And I think when we talk about revitalization, in my mind, the word revitalization means historic downtown. Like, I think right in here, right? So I'm fine leaving it blank again, but again, it's one of those things that as long as we all are kind of clear about what we think, Main Street has just found out that Main Street covers all of Newberry. It's not how I see Main Street. I see Main Street as a very defined strip. And I think the word revitalization clearly sort of means this here. That's how I would interpret revitalization. And along with these objectives, all of these objectives are also very confined to a very specific location. So to your point, if downtown is open and broad, all of these objectives are in one microcosmic area of our town. But it seems like and all these were written with my view of what downtown Newberry is, but other people have different views. So I would say leave it alone, because that gives us a little bit of wiggle room. But these objectives certainly are in a concentrated area. So
How wide is our CRA district?
CRA goes past Oakview on 27,
Right.
a little bit past Oakview on 27. It goes out, well, go ahead, Brian. You're here.
yeah, 'cause I would assume that the Main Street district, the CRA district are not identical.
Yeah.
That'd be correct. The CRA district is approximately 1 square mile. It encompasses all of downtown, whatever downtown is. It takes it all in. And a little bit more, because
Right.
the CRA district also incorporates a pretty wide swath of residential, of the older residential areas of Newberry. So, I mean, when I envision the downtown area, it's broader than the historic district, but it's confined to maybe from the light westward to
Post?
260th kind of area. But then also too, we actually have some older buildings along State Road 45, not far from the light. And so that's kind of as I envision the downtown area is the original sort of central core of Newberry. But I like the wiggle room idea too, that we're not nailed down to, if we limited it just to the downtown historic district, that's a really small district.
Well, but I would assume, so that's, I guess my point was, when downtown encompasses the historic district, the Main Street, the CRA, is that what you're saying? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
All but the CRA is broader than downtown.
I know, but pieces of it are within
Yeah.
downtown.
Yeah, I mean, if you did a Venn diagram, you
Exactly,
put all this
there's
together,
a
you'd have
nexus
the downtown
somewhere, yes.
nexus.
Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
thought.
That's
Yeah.
what, need the
Yeah.
wiggle room.
That was my point. Okay, so are we okay moving on?
Yep.
All right, So this is the last goal in growth and economic development, a strong, diverse local economy. And there's 3 objectives: to streamline the permitting and planning process, to facilitate rapid industrial and manufacturing project development, continue to create a pro-business environment for commercial development, and then the third one is facilitate the development of the Newberry Agriculture Technology Park.
Thoughts? Good?
I'm good with
Pretty good
that.
with all this too.
All right, all
Good.
right.
Moving
Last
on,
but
thank
not
All the
least.
time.
Excuse me, got a tickle.
Bless you.
So, leadership. There are 4 goals: equitable and sustainable sources of revenue for long-term financial stability, ensure operational continuity through succession planning, foster partnerships that strengthen our community, and then a diverse and vibrant community. All right. So the first one around equitable and sustainable sources of revenue. Explore different funding mechanisms to support city services. Support diversification of tax base by encouraging non-residential development. And then research and maximize grant funding opportunities going to your CDBG grants. Yep, that's where it is listed.
That's where it goes.
Thoughts, questions, heartburn?
I hate the word sustainable.
What is equitable sources of revenue?
Okay. We had
You need a break?
No.
Seems a little frustrated over there.
No, we had a long discussion. We went round and round, and so.
Here, did I miss it?
No, with staff.
Oh, you're frustrated because you already had this.
Yeah, exactly.
In our mind, equitable was kind of to the point of, regressive versus progressive taxes, trying to balance the cost amongst all residents, those, the fire assessment versus ad valorem taxes, those sorts of issues.
How about just diverse sources of revenue
Sources
for,
of revenue.
yeah,
That's the one we've always.
diverse
I like
sources
that.
of revenue.
Yeah, I'm writing it down.
Well, it's done then. If he's writing it down, there's no going back once Colby.
Well,
It is now law.
Well, I think you do need for long-term financial stability.
Yeah.
I don't mind that part.
Okay.
Diverse sources revenue for long-term financial stability.
How do you spell diversity?
D.
Diverse sources of revenue for long-term financial stability. Yes?
Yes.
Yes.
That's the
Okay. What about the objectives?
explore different funding mechanisms to support services.
Oh, I've got D3 in there twice. I just saw that. Okay, and then,
I'm good with the objectives, I think.
Yeah, I am.
Diversification of the tax base by encouraging research and Sure.
all right.
Good?
Goal E2, ensure operational continuity through succession planning. And there's 3 objectives: identify and establish successors for key positions across city departments, create a learning environment for growth and development of emerging leaders, and then incorporate a succession planning element into the 10-year staffing plan.
Just sounds like good business.
That sounds like it's pretty standard.
Actually, I think this was you.
This came out of your 5-year goals, but they had it as well. So, because you had staff succession planning as your 3rd kind of key area.
You've been the champion of succession planning.
Sounds good.
Does that are we good?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, only a few more. Okay, goal E3.
1 second.
Oh, I'm sorry, you want to go back?
No, I'm just not quite ready to move on.
Okay.
But now I lost my train of thought, so I will let it go. All right,
Praise Jesus.
E3. Jesus. Jesus. You
Sorry
start
if-
not to smell so good.
Hey, man.
Have to the air conditioning in here. Thank you.
If it comes back to you, we'll
Yeah.
come back to this, okay?
This
Just
is
say, hey, I remembered it, and we'll jump back. It is a click away. Okay, foster partnerships that strengthen our community. Foster, it's like Bueller. Okay, collaborate with research and industry partners to increase economic and job opportunities. Support the Alachua County School Board to provide high-quality education in the community. Foster and maintain intergovernmental relationships, and then capitalize on the strengths of private industry to support city initiatives. And before you say anything, I just want to say that this is a big goal for you as local elected officials. So this goal here is really at the 30,000 foot level for the electeds. The staff can definitely support in a lot of these areas, especially when you look at 3.3, and obviously some of the collaboration, 3.1, but some of this will fall on your shoulders as leaders.
Well, E32 is a very touchy subject
I
in this
know.
county right
I know.
now. So, I don't know, we'll refer to Commissioner Martin on that one. You have the,
I mean, I don't know why we would need to necessarily
why did we even
call
put
out
that in there? Yeah, why would we call somebody out?
Any of these, because in my mind, everybody that we work with, we need to be fostering partnerships with to strengthen the community. So, I mean, I guess, and how would you judge, how do you have objectives to judge partnerships? Because in my opinion, generally what happens, hang on one second, generally what happens is that in one person's perspective, it's a good partnership when we capitulate on every single point.
Yeah.
Right? And that's the only measure of a good partnership. When we are asking for a partnership where there's compromise and we're both capitulating, all of a sudden Newberry's not being a good partner. Newberry's obstinate. Newberry is stubborn. So I don't want somebody to come and say, well, you said you got to be a good partner, and Alachua County, our school board is saying, right? And I'm thinking, well, we've offered X, Y, and Z. We've told them for 20 years that we have this population. They've had 20 years to build a school. I mean, we did our part. We're communicating. So I like collaborating, researching with partners. I like what does support mean? Like, are we supposed to pay for more than the taxes we're already paying? So
I'm the support all Alachua County governments.
Isn't E3-2 and E3-3 basically the same things?
yeah, it seems like we're just kind of.
That is true, now that I've read that one.
You're right.
I would say foster partners strengthens our community, and foster and maintain an objective is foster and maintain intergovernmental relationships. And then maybe some of the action items can be like, for example.
That's kind of where I was going. If we just eliminate 3.2,
Yeah.
because
there we go.
we consider the school board an intergovernmental relationship that we want to foster and maintain, the action item is in some way, shape, or form encouraging them to straight up increase the student capacity.
Yeah.
Dallas?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, the main reason that staff felt this was an important objective, and we understand what you're saying, was because of the community feedback about the
Yes.
capacity in the schools.
That's what I was
And
gonna
us
say.
needing to work with the school board to support the schools. So that was our objective in this objective.
Yes.
I would say that the wording there needs to be more about educating on how we are already supporting, right? Because that,
Well, that could be an action item.
An action
Going
item.
back to the survey thing.
Right.
Are you happy with, so I
When I
think if
read
we
this one,
take,
this goes wrong to me.
I'm sorry, I don't-
Go
Acts
ahead.
3-2.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. But I can hear the point of breaking it out due to the community feedback. Maybe we just change the objective to support Alachua County School Board to provide increased student capacity.
Well, the word support though seems what I'm.
How about support efforts?
How about support efforts or
Encourage.
Encourage.
Communicate
Encourage.
to the Alachua County School Board.
Encourage the Alachua County School Board to
Yeah.
increase student student capacity. Increase seating capacity. Increase capacity.
To increase student capacity.
Yeah.
And that's under the action item? Or is
No.
that the
I would-
actual?
I-
The action item would be,
Get it done. Get it done.
no,
So I
yeah,
just
the
want-
action items can be, have we submitted our concurrency things?
correct.
On a quarterly basis? Have we, let them know that, hey, this 20 acres and this planned development is being set aside for a school board or for a school, that, I think, can we not use those sorts of things for action items?
Can you read it?
Yes, absolutely.
Can you read it back out?
So the objective would be encourage the Alachua County School Board to increase student capacity.
There we go.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then action items would be along the lines of,
Community
Commu-
development plans to be incorporated
Yep.
in countywide concurrencies.
And we're good with 3-1, 3-3, and 3-4?
The other action item was advising of
Partnerships with
development
private.
set-asides
Yeah.
related to school board functions or something that may facilitate the objective. I don't know how you want to say that.
okay. Oh, we'll figure that out. But I think, so I'll just, to Dallas's point, he spoke before I could, so thank you. But absolutely, I think it needs to stay in there. I think the way you reworded it is excellent. That's what we heard over and over in the data. So it looks good to me, based on the data. So it has changed to encourage the Alachua County School Board to increase student capacity.
Force them to.
All right.
Diverse and vibrant community.
Are we going to keep 3-3, even though it's the same as 3-2?
Well, I think it's a little bit different, though,
That covers
because
all the governments.
that includes,
All the governments?
yeah.
Well, I like to maintain, like, I mean,
Yeah.
it is often cast as we don't have great
FDOT,
relationships. I actually think we have really good relationships with just about every governing board around us, right? I mean, there's not a city that we can't reach out to. I can text anybody and they would text back, right? I mean, that's a pretty good relationship.
I was in Micanopy Tuesday night and I talked with lacrosse for 20 minutes today.
So, and we've got regional wastewater, on the docket. We've talked about all kinds of ways that we have partnered together. So I like that idea about maintaining those relationships. 3-4, we good? Are we ready to move on to diverse and vibrant community? Diverse and vibrant community.
All right. So the first objective is promote and sustain employee personnel management practices to generate and support greater diversity, equity, and inclusivity in city personnel, and then promote inclusive engagement of city residents in the work of the city through outreach, education, reporting, and advocacy.
I think right now we do all that, don't we? Every bit of that. And we're pretty good at that.
So we did hear in some of the data, and you probably are doing it, but just let me pull some things while you're talking. So we heard a lot about blended community, making sure that there is, excuse me, diversification. Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with 4-1. I guess I'm wondering in 4.2, what is that outreach and education? From staff's perspective, what does that look like? Give me an example. Give me an action item.
One of the action items that staff would do, or has been looking at doing, kind of regardless of this process, is taking city government and into the communities, meeting with community groups, meeting with homeowners associations, meeting with church groups, going into those communities more directly instead of having to have people come here, more direct engagement with our community.
Okay, then I'm good. Good? Good?
Good.
President, good? Yes? All right. Do you have any last thoughts? You stepped out. Were you thinking about something as you stepped out?
No, just from the toxic nature of the whole concept of diversity inclusion as it become a political football. I don't have any objection with, I just want to have the best and brightest among us. I don't really care about all that other, I don't really care about all that other stuff. Like I said, from a political agenda football that it's become. So I don't know if there was any discussion about that side of it, but.
And I think this is another example of the way we envision those words mean different things than the way other people envision those words. I see them as making a concerted effort to make sure that we have gone to everybody and said, hey, everybody here is welcome so that we can get the best and the brightest.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I agree, because, 30 years ago, you wouldn't have had diversity or inclusivity in there, but now, it's once you got to.
All right.
It's just the way it is right now.
We had diversity 30 years ago, before it was a popular thing.
Yeah, you missed it. We had a female mayor
Yeah, I know.
the other night.
Yeah, I know. Don't let down say I missed it.
I don't know. I did it that night. I said, everybody look around, see who's not here.
Commissioner Coleman's not here.
All right, next step.
Okay, so let's just talk very briefly about the next steps. So I've made all the notes. We're very close. And so my team will begin to design a community report. It's basically like an executive summary that just kind of gives a quick kind of overview of the methodology, right? Kind of what was done, what we kind of talked about at the beginning, and then really outlines those 5 key strategic theme areas with the goals and the objectives. We also will want to have some type of implementation plan discussion. Again, that could be, I don't necessarily know you need monthly, but it's up to you guys, but you'll really need to decide how you want to handle that with the city manager. But we usually recommend at least quarterly reports on everything. Once that has been decided, we'll come back and make a presentation to say, here's the beautiful report to you, and congratulations. You'll have it submitted. It'll be ready to post online, and I think then disseminate the plan to the community. And what I've heard a lot tonight from everyone, I think, is this interpretation, everyone's understanding of what any word means, whether it's affordable, green space, diversity, inclusion, and foster, that's right. Foster.
Yes.
So I think it's going to be critically important that when the plan is, the executive summary piece, the community report is done, that you as leaders go back into the community and you have discussions with your residents and your citizens about the plan and what it means. And so, there's going to be a lot of work to do that, but I think that's critically important that the residents understand and that you guys are all on the same page as you move forward. And so that's where we are. I am very proud of you guys. I think your staff did an amazing job of pulling everything together, and as well as incorporating all of the data from the residents, employees, and I think you're in a really good place for the next 5 years. So congratulations to all of you.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. Are there any final thoughts, questions while we?
Thank you.
Yeah,
are here.
absolutely.
All right, we appreciate you, your time.
Midstream here, you did
Good job.
That's right.
Thanks.
Came in here at the very end and put it all together, right?
Yeah.
Icing on the cake. Any last thoughts, comments from residents?
You did a great job.
Thank you, appreciate it. If that's the word, we are adjourned.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much.